Hi and welcome to another episode, and what I've got here is the Commodore 128. Now you've seen this before. I've played around with putting a Lumafix 128 inside, which we can open up and have a look at. If I can, I've already unscrewed it underneath obviously, but sure, and put the cable at the side, and then there's the keyboardy one over here. Oh. I swear blind that these things get stiffer and stiffer every time. There we go. Let's undo the earthing. There we go. Let's put the keyboard to one side. Okay, so we've got the Lumafix 128 installed. We've got the extra memory, which I've still not been able to test because I've not been able to load anything yet, but finally I've got everything that I need. What I want to do though is replace the RF. I did speak about it before, because basically from Video Game Perfections, I believe that's what they're called, yes, Video Game Perfection, sorry, not S, Perfection, and what they've got is this, which is a, what do they call it, a C64/C128 S Video Bypass RF Replacement DIY Kit. And looking at their website of today, they've only got the one in, so put your interests in and hopefully they'll make some more. What this is supposed to do though is clean up the picture even more so when it comes to sorting out the RF, because from what I understand, don't quote me on it, from what I understand is that the video signal actually goes through the RF before it gets to do the S video, and hence why it's a good idea to get rid of all that rubbish and stick one of these in. So I need to remove the RF, and to do that I need to undo some screws and get it on my little blue pad and see how far we get. Okay, so I've taken all the screws out. There's 1, 2, 3. There's one hiding over here. There doesn't seem to be, there's a screw hole there, but there doesn't seem to be one hiding there. And then one there, and one over here. So to take it out though, it might feel that it's not coming out. So carefully bend back where the RF bit is a little bit, and that'll mean that'll come up, and then go that way with it, and it'll all come out. Now be careful though, because there is like sort of like placeholder pegs holding the underneath shielding in, and they might find there's a bit of dust in the bottom, so you might as well clean that off while you're in there. Oop. Let's try not to destroy the box room while we're at it. And then we need to take off this shielding at the bottom, which hopefully just comes away. This one seems to be in pretty good nick. There we go. And then there's some sort of cardboardy tape to hold that away. Oh, interesting budge job. A resistor and a bit of wire. But this is the bit that we're interested in the first place. Okay, desoldering station's on. I'm going to put a little bit of flux on all the points. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier to melt everything down and get rid of it. And then we'll see how far we get. I'm not going to record with this thing because it's got a really loud fan, so I'll just come back when I'm finished. Okay, this bit turns out you got to be a little bit ambidextrous because of so much solder at where the RF cage is, box or whatever. There's an awful lot of solder. As much as you suck up an awful lot, it might be wise to hold it close, melt the solder, and as it's melting the solder, after you've already sucked up an awful lot of it, as in nearly cleaned it all off, is heat the solder and gently bend the prong that's underneath so it lines up with being poked out. Not doing it right now because I can't really when there's no heat, but that's something that you might want to do. But I'm also thinking that it may well be useful to actually just use a normal soldering iron when you've removed an awful lot of it and get some braid in there and, you know, remove an awful lot, remove even more solder rather. It turns out you might have to be a little bit ambidextrous in the realms of, after you've sucked up an awful lot of solder from where the prongs are, you have to level them out so that it will pass through the board. And what I've found is that while I'm desoldering and I've got rid of an awful lot of it, if I actually line it up, it actually means that the solder may well not touch the prong afterwards, because there's actually now a gap and it's easier to suck even more solder up. As you can see, I've had to fix my soldering iron because I had to replace the point, but I may have to add some fresh solder so that I can suck up the points properly on the 8 pins. So again, I'll be back after I finish doing that. Okay, so I've managed to get the RF out. As you can see, there's a bit of rust on top, plenty of rust on the bottom, so I'm glad I've got rid of it. Part of the problem of actually doing this though is to actually get the solder off, so you might have to add some new solder, hence why the soldering machine's here. And where the grounding parts are, as you saw before, there was an awful lot of solder there. That actually filled up an empty gun to the point it needed empty again so that I could carry on. So you might want to use wick with that rather than using a desoldering gun. I'm not very good with wick, so you know, one of those things. And why I'm holding what it looks like a guitar pick, which is a spludger, that's because I used it to be able to put pressure on where the grounding bent bits were on this back side of it, sticking through, that thing in the middle there, and then also the pins as well, so that I could push it through. Even though I managed to make sure there was no solder and everything like that, they were a little bit off, it was a little bit twisted, and trying to get it all lined up all at once is a bit difficult. But trying to press with your thumb just hurts your thumb, so use something flat and strong like this and just help push it through. Not a load of pressure, you don't want to bend anything, you don't want to break anything, it's just to help guide it. So that's that done. So I need to clean off all the flux in this area so that I can get some nice new fresh solder on there, because we need to get some pins in there. Now AGP did give the pins along with the circuit board, but it didn't give any wire, so it would have been nice if there was a bit of wire. I have seen other sellers sell different types of pins to go along with the board. I've even seen one seller making a slightly different version of theirs, of the board, but I did come across at the back of the board, because I've already been staring at the stuff on top. Come on, silly camera. Focus, there we go. Video enhancement, analog only, by Copper Dragon, the copper with a 0. I'll put a link to their little bit on the website at the description down below, because I'm sure if those that know stuff or circuit boards and stuff, we'll have more interesting chat with them about that sort of stuff, because I've got not a clue on how to design anything like that. So apart from me pointing out my weaknesses, let's clean this up. So that's that cleaned off. As it dries off, I can see that the alcohol's still trying to, well, as you can see there, the IPA is starting to evaporate, so that's nice and clean now. So we need to get the pins in here, which actually go from the other side. So what I'm going to do is get a bit of Captain tape and hold them in place. Really, as simple as that, while I solder from the underside. So let's get both sets. I'm going to put the little parts of the pins pointing downwards. Where's my Captain tape, and where's some useful scissors? I probably haven't got any again, so I'm going to have to use some snips. But who cares, as long as it gets cut. Come on now. There we go. go. And I'm actually going to use the foam on the other side. Is that even going to reach? I don't think it is it? Because all the other stuff that's there. No, it's not going to reach. There we go. So I'll get my flux. Seems silly really, have to go clean it all up, but now I've got to put some more flux down. And let's get on with soldering. And by now you've seen me solder plenty of times, so I'm just going to jump to where it's already done. So pins are soldered in. I'm going to do the earth wire now on the PCB. So I've got it propped up like this. I've already tinned the end of the wire, so it should be relatively easy just to get this on, because you're not going to have to do this. And it's already done. There we go. So let's zoom in a little bit. Super fast zoom, of course. And as we can see, I have managed to solder everything the way it's supposed to be by the looks of it. I do want to point out this corner here though, I had to cut off ever so slight bit on the corner using my snips so that the whole thing would sit nice and flat of where it's supposed to be. It does seem to sit rather close to this capacitor. I do hope that everything's all right with that. Can we even bend that out of the way a little bit? There we go, it's not even touching now. That'll be fine. But yeah, it is flat now. Trying to get the earth on, I do recommend you do it near one of these points, because then it'll sort of give it a bit of an area to grip hold of. But also make sure that you have got an earth from that point to here, all over, not the wire, the main ground area, just to make sure that you have actually got a ground all the way through, because according to the instructions it's very, very important that that ground is done, which it often is. But let's screw everything back together again and see if we get a decent picture. I'm not expecting perfect. Let me zoom back out again so you can see my hands waving around. Dum 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 da. There we go. So just to make sure that it's working and we get a better picture. I'm not expecting perfect picture, just a better picture. What I'll do is also a little bit from the last episode of when we're playing around with the Commodore 128, so you can see how, I don't know, how the quality was then, I'll put it that way, and then see if this has actually improved anything, and is it worthwhile time you've got a Lumafix and the fancy adapter I've got to make everything go through to VGA so that we can put it through the OSSC. But yeah, now the fun bit of screwing it all back together again. Just fighting with it right now. I want to point out it's the same way as we took it out. It seems put it in to the side first and then drop it in, because otherwise it's a bit of a struggle. But not having the RF bit sticking out the back actually makes it easier to get it down at the back there. So yes, some screws now. And as always, start at a corner, rotate the screw backwards a little bit until you hear it drop in. There we go, and then go forwards. Not all the way down though, do the opposite corner. There we go, come on. Backwards. And then forwards, not all the way down. And then make your way around putting all the screws in. And as we know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because it doesn't seem to be one over here, even though there seems to be a spot for one. And then of course go back around, finishing off the tightening of the screws. Not too much, you don't want to don't want to ruin the posts of where the screws go in, and you don't want to ruin the screws. So that's that screwed back in. keyboard. Where's the keyboard hiding? It's hiding all the way over here. And then this is the bit where you remember you shouldn't have screwed down the bit at the bottom right all the way down, because that is where the grounding is for the keyboard. So let's get that in there. There we go. Keyboard wire is here. Push that head in. Come over here and do the LEDs without burning yourself on your soldering iron. So I'm just going to rest it at the moment. Maybe a little bit. Make sure that this wire at the bottom isn't getting trapped. Can be a bit awkward. There we go. Yep. That's all down now, apart from it needs screwing in properly, of course. But we're going to test it before we do a full screw down, just in case there's still a problem. Okay, so it's all plugged in. I'm getting a picture, so I haven't killed it, thankfully. But let's have a look at what we get now and then compare that to last week. So if you see my hands waving around and they don't match up to what I'm saying, it's because it's actually the last episode of the Commodore 128 mixed in and out. I'll say when I'm doing it, but anyway, so right now this is going to show this week's, because we want to show what it looks like with the adapter. So let's swap across. Right, so you can see there is some jail barring. I'm probably going to have to retune the Lumafix 128, which I'm going to do at a later date, because I've got to get on with other stuff. And the point is I haven't killed the 128, and that's what I'm interested in. The video's going out through the S video for those that want to know that. Just to prove a point, I'm going to unplug the composite. So, see, that's not plugged in anymore, we've still got a picture. Let's go to the normal, oh sorry, let's jump to last time. And back to now. So, is there a comparison? I don't know. I'm going to find out while I'm doing the editing. And then let's go to the C64 normal mode. Press 9 and press return. I'll reboot. So there's still some jail barring here as well, and some, well, not exactly dot crawl, but again, I think the Lumafix needs to be sorted. But there is no color bleed, which is nice. So which way? Jail bars, no color bleed, I don't know. Again, I'm going to have to tweak it when I get round to doing that. So let's reset so that I can go across quite easily to the 80 columns, because I don't have to press the button because I have this servant chip in here as well. So the 480 swap is press minus, and then press the button on there, and then press the button on my OSSC so it picks up the new signal. And again, this is 80 column, just to prove a point, 80 columns in there. Right, so no color bleed here either. I do have a strange thing that happens when I'm plugging it in through the capture device and everything. I keep losing picture on my TV, which is a bit weird, but the picture's going fine through the capture device and everything, but it works fine if I don't plug the capture device in. Weird. Anyway, the point is that I'm getting away with the fact that I haven't killed the Commodore 128. So yes, I'm not going to screw everything together right now, because I'm going to play around with the Lumafix at some point in this beast's little life and see if I can get the picture out even better. If I do, watch out for a tweet, which you can find in Retro Box Room, and I'll put a picture up there of where I've managed to make it look better. If I don't, I don't. It's one of those things, because it's in there now. I'm not resoldering it back in again, the RF thing. Oh, right now, Would I recommend one of these devices? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be a great improvement, but that's not what I was expecting anyway. The one thing it has done though is got rid of the colour bleed, which I'm very happy about, because I find that more annoying than the gel bars, because with gel bars, when you're actually in a game and stuff, you don't necessarily see it as much. But colour bleed, it's so obvious. So yeah, I would recommend one if you can get your hands on one. AGP have currently not got any in of time I finished making this episode. I know I said at the start they had one, but now they only have none. So hopefully they're getting some more in. If they aren't, there is other people that make them, so just search for them. And apart from that, what can I say? Come along, hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button and come and would I recommend getting one of these little PCBs and improving the picture? Yes, I would. I realise I've got gel bars still. That's probably just the Lumafix needs retuning. If it is, I'll make a quick little video and prove that yes, the picture's been improved at a later time. As I say, I need to get on with other things at the moment. But in the meantime, I would recommend getting one because it does get rid of the colour bleed an awful lot. Maybe not 100%, but for me, it seems to have helped a fair bit in getting rid of it. And besides, it might be that the underside of the RF is all rusty and you don't want that happening to your motherboard. So come along, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell, look in the description below, there's all the stuff for becoming a Patreon, coming and joining Discord, all that fun stuff. As always, happy gaming.